Yo, what is going on everybody? It's Brave Cat here once again with another Frontier Signals update. So let's just run through everything here. Once again, we're going to have to go to the NOAA because the SDO feeds are all down. But things have been pretty consistent over here, at least for now. So we do have this coronal hole that's facing us, and then the next 48 hours, we're going to be seeing a pretty sizable uptick here in the solar wind. So we could even get some disturbances here in the KP index from that. And other than that here, we have pretty minor things going on. Although I did notice on here, just take a look at this section kind of in the bottom left of the sun. It did kind of a weird looking flare where it almost looks like some sort of pit just opened up and had a very minor plasma filament release. But I just thought it looked a little bit strange. Kind of cool actually. Just looks like this massive area just kind of opens up and the filament just kind of bursts out. But again, nothing much here going on. We do have some active regions facing us, and those other sunspots are all going away. But those sunspots aren't really too much to worry about here, although these areas do seem a little bit active. So we got this one down here in the bottom left. And then this kind of general region here. I'm not sure if this is one or two separate distinct sunspots, or sunspot groups rather. But we don't really see those happen on this feed here, so we can see those large sunspots making their way off to the right. And we don't really see anything regarding those active regions on here. So maybe there's not really a whole lot of sunspot activity there. It's mostly just the magnetization itself that we see in these active regions. But anyways, that's about what we got going on in terms of space weather for today and going into the next couple days. So moving on here, we have the windy map. It does seem to be quite windy here, especially in the kind of northern central area of the United States here. We've got looks like 45-mile-an-hour winds going across 6 different states right here, and then kind of going down the Front Range. Things have been a little bit windy, and we see that in other places of the world as well. Seems like some pretty strange weather patterns are emerging in other places. And again, a couple things to cover over on X, but let's just get right into the earthquakes for today. So really quickly here over in Utah, looks like we have an increased swarm going on over here, and I pulled up the coordinates for that here on the map, so we can see pretty sizable pumping operation here with different pipelines and whatnot, as well as a pretty big solar farm right next to it as well. So it's a pretty likely spot for seismic energy to be attracted to with these sorts of things. And looks like you even have some wind turbines out here as well. And possibly even some geothermal, I believe. Not entirely sure. But lots of power generation and pumping operations in this area, right where this swarm is happening. And again, we see still the same kind of pressure moving through here down the west coast, going into Texas, all that fancy stuff. So what we got going on right now in the Pacific is we got deep earthquakes striking each of the letter Ds here, which represent areas that frequently have deep activity, even up here in Japan. A little bit off of the D, but still up here in Japan we have a new 4.1. Kind of curious to see how deep this is here. 368, that's not really too bad. And then even going over here, we got another letter D with a pretty shallow, deep earthquake. And let's see, the other ones are down here. So moving on to Europe here, we have a lot of pressure moving out and away. So over here at X marks the spot on Iceland, where we regularly see pressure moving out, we have a 3.3 there, and then a whole bunch of 4s and 3s that have been going on up here, closer to the Arctic Circle. And even on the other side of it here, we've got some activity going on up here. So that's pretty much what I see there. Again, we still have quite a bit of pressure in here. We have 5s regularly going off now around Greece, and various 3s and 4s. So we're still seeing a global uptick here. Regular 5s, whole new round of them going throughout Indonesia, and north of that, above the Philippines here. So still quite a bit of action going on in terms of that. And again, we'll just have to wait and see what else we see going on over here in Europe following that potential deep event. So moving on to the volcanoes and a couple other things. So it looks like that volcano in Kamchatka, which had the growing lava dome, looks like it has potentially collapsed in on itself with a ash plume reaching 27,000 feet. And then we see a lot of the same activity going on here throughout some of these other locations. So I didn't see anything too surprising here or out of the ordinary. Let's see, was there one more thing? Oh yeah, I guess there's a couple things relating to Popocate. And then we have down here the Fournaise, France volcano. Still doing quite a bit of stuff there. We've got lava streams going out of there. So taking things over on X for just the last few tidbits of stuff. We have another site of Kilauea's ongoing eruption. So that looks pretty spectacular, pretty wild. Very large lava fountains and lots of ash coming out of there. And just some people just kind of casually chilling, observing. So we got another post here, which again, this is going to be something that just becomes more and more relevant. So talking about Chan Thomas's book that he published, The Adam and Eve Story. It was pretty limited and, partially classified. There was only a limited number of pages available until more recently, and definitely has to do with the ongoing pole shift that we see here. So, and with the accelerations that we've seen in the last 2 to 3 decades. And we got a clip here coming out of China. So they're using these police drones. It's a little bit Orwellian, it's a little bit dystopian here. Got these weird police drones directing traffic and just kind of having these messages go out. Just thought that was pretty weird. But, I mean, coming from China, it's not too surprising. They pretty much want to have a total lockdown on their people. And it looks like they are slowly moving that direction. Well, I would say quickly moving that direction. So this is the thing about Popocate. I guess there's a tradition around that area where, once a year they have some sort of celebration day regarding this volcano, bringing offerings and whatnot. And this is one of the volcanoes that's been just ongoing. So we have some footage of the ash plumes coming out of there. And then lastly here, we've got some red sprites down in Oklahoma. So these are pretty cool. Although again, another sign that there is abnormal behavior going on within the atmosphere and relating to solar physics and cosmic rays and all that. So just things that we're just going to be seeing more and more of as time goes on. So with that, that'll pretty much wrap things up for today. If anything else crazy happens, I'll be sure to make some sort of post about that. But anyways, hope you all enjoyed, got something out of it. Please like and subscribe for more, and I'll catch you all in the next.